the read and or update rights for the field. Well, the first thing we probably want to do with this kind of field is we don't want anybody to be able to update that sales figure. So in this case, maybe only the master, the admin user, should be able to update that field. So let's go ahead and hit OK, and let's imagine that's all we'd like to do for right now. So again, all we did was we changed our security on that field to only allow updates from master. Now what does that allow us to do? Well, if we're logged in as, say, Jim, and I'm going to go ahead and switch my user. When Jim's in his GoldMine now, he can't modify that value. See, I'm trying to click into it, I just can't get there from here. Because I'm not logged in as the appropriate user, I can't update the field. So now let's log back in as myself, and I'll show you the next step. Oop. If we go back into our screen design and back to our field properties, back to our security tab, that's an alert I had kind of hanging out there, don't worry about that. I can now also change the read rights to the sales group, and this is where you really see GoldMine user group start to shine a little bit, where you start to do things like lock down field read and or update rights. We'll go ahead and select the sales group here. So again, what this means is that only the sales group can read the field and only master can update it. Now you recall that in our sales group we had Jim and we had Bob. So we're going to modify our group a little bit. Again, we're going to go to Tools, down to User Groups, and we're actually going to go to our Members Setup on Sales, which is what you have to do. We're going to remove Jim. Jim is no longer a part of sales. Because I want to log in as Jim, I want to show you how that field behaves. So now that Jim's logged in, and Jim is no longer part of the sales group, he gets no $Y to D field. He can't see it. So when we restrict the read rights on that field, the field label doesn't even appear on the contact record. The end user literally has no idea the field exists. Excuse me. So this is actually a really nice way to lock down like very sensitive fields like social security number, or maybe personal identification number if you maybe have the users administrate themselves on maybe a self-service website or something of that nature. Again, that was in my screen design. I go into screen design here. I have to be logged in as a master user, which I am, or the master, and I can always right click on a field, go to properties, and I can go to the security tab and I can change the read and or update rights here. A couple of other cool things that you can play with here on the security tab would be required data entry. That acts as if you would expect it to. If I enable this, it requires, well, see, the first thing, it has a problem. If I'm going to require the data entry, it needs the field to have public access. So if we want to require data entry, we do need to make the field a little more out there. We need to allow other people to look at it and update it, because what's going to happen when we require data entry, GoldMine will really require that data entry. The other cool thing to do here is to log changes in history, and what that does is, for instance, when this field value changes, say he spends another couple $100, what happens is that now that I have my log changes in history enabled, whenever that field changes, I get this history item here, this log history right here, which tells me that the $Y to D was updated from 220 to 500. And that's also a very nice way to keep track of things like customer type. If you're tracking the difference between suspect, prospect, customer, and perhaps even one further, perhaps even maybe a discard, or perhaps even a service level agreement like an ABCD kind of customer tiered service scenario, it's very handy to have the history enabled on that field. That way we can get a sense of how long people are staying at whatever portion of our suspect, prospect, customer pipeline. Okay, we're going to look at one last thing here, which is the understated, mild-mannered GoldMine Search Center. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I was recently doing some documentation for our live GoldMine morning seminar that we're having in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on June 1st. That would be this Friday at 8:30 a.m. at the Philadelphia Airport Marriott. I will just suggest to you that if you're interested in attending this completely free seminar, that you go to marksgroup.net. There's all sorts of sign-up information there. And we're actually we were putting together just a small list of cool things to do with your search center that nobody really does. And I kind of want to take you guys through a few of those things. The GoldMine Search Center has been such a staple of using GoldMine for so many years that we just kind of use it for one thing, right? We just want to look for the guy that we're talking to. In this case, it's going to be maybe Roadrunner, or it could be Wile E. Coyote. Doesn't matter. But traditionally, we've just used the search center to look for the guy that we're talking to, because we know as GoldMine users that anything we select from this top level menu typically is going to in some way affect the guy we're looking at, the current contact record. What I want to show you is that the search center all by itself is actually a really nice way to generate lists. And the first thing I want to show you is that if you've ever thought about generating lists with your search center before, so for instance, let's imagine I want a list of all of my New York contacts. So I can go ahead and I can select state from my drop down here. And just simply go, state begins with New York, and I can get all my New York contacts. Why you may want to use the search center for generating lists is because we have this hideously overpowered right-click output to Excel functionality. And if you haven't played with that, wowee, you're missing out. Because when I right-click and I export and I output to Excel, that outputs the current list. Don't worry about my Excel, it's just a little broken. But it exports that current list that we were looking at to a really slick Excel spreadsheet very easily. So now we can see that not only can we just kind of find people with our search center, but we can also use it for the occasional list. The other thing I want to show you guys is that if you're a bit of the power GoldMine user, and if you've been down this road before, and if you've been told by whomever that you can't generate lists this way because you can only look at 10,000 records at a time in here, I'm going to show you the best trick in the GoldMine universe. Is that here's the deal. When I look at records in this list, and if I look at a percent sign, that looks at everybody. And my training database happens to be very small. But if your database has, for instance, over 10,000 records in New York State, we can only see by default the first 10,000 until we change that all-important number. And where we find that, and if you're taking notes, you're going to want to write this down. If I go to Tools, Configure, and down to System Settings, and over to my Display tab, I can actually change the maximum records shown in my Contact Search Center. So this little baby here, if I pump that up to, let's say, 50,000, or even better, 75,000, and I'll do the same thing for the SQL queries just because I'm here. That allows you to use the search center to generate lists, in this case now approaching 75,000. If we need more than 75, we can always keep increasing that number. I just want to show you guys where to find that, because a lot of people have been told over the years by their GoldMine Solutions partners that you can't generate lists this way because you can't see all your records. No longer the case. So again, the idea is to go to our Tools, Configure, System, onto our Display, increase this number to our database size. Now we can use our search center to create a list. Well, in this case, we're looking at just state equals New York. Let's take it one step further. Not only do I want state equals New York, but I only want the prospects. in New York. So in this case, I want to use my multi-level search within my search center. Did you guys know about this? If I click the plus here, I can actually add levels to my search. See how cool that is? So in this case, I can add one more level, and I can say not only should state begin with New York, and my customer type should be prospect. So now I'm narrowing down my list. But you see how cool that is? I can add levels all day long. And I can really put the screws. I can really slice and dice my GoldMine database apart. So that allows us to now use the Search Center to build a rather complex list. I can have all sorts of field testing going on here. State needs to be New York. Customer type needs to be prospect. And I can even add company needs to begin with Acme. So in this case, I'm only getting one. But I just want to show you guys what a powerful tool that you have here in the Search Center in order to actually provide multi-level searching, look at more than 10,000 records at once, and right-click here and output to Excel very, very easily. The other neat thing I want to show you guys here is that when you're building your lists out of the Search Center, you can add whatever columns you want to see by going to your Columns button here and going to your Column Selection tab here. And in this case, we can add any field on the GoldMine contact record. So in this case, maybe I don't want to see phone. Maybe I don't want to see street address. Maybe I want to see state, and then maybe I want to see city. And then I want all my keys. That's good. And there we go. Very easy to put together a custom list with whatever columns you want, using a very custom search criteria, and export to Excel. Back in the old days, people used to call me on the phone. They say, Justin, I want to export a list out of my GoldMine. Well, the first question I ask is, do you have a filter? Do you know how to use filters? Have you been down the terrible filter road? Have you, sweat blood and tears to get your filters created? Great. Now we're going to use the export wizard. I hope you have an afternoon free to export records out of GoldMine. No longer the case. We can leverage the Search Center to do amazingly quick list generation out of GoldMine. Really cool. The only other thing that I would mention here is that when we are using our multi-level search, we can actually, if we want to, add that as a filter to use forever and ever. But let's take it one step backwards before I show you that. When you're in your Search Center on your own here, you can actually see your filters and groups by clicking on the Filters/Groups button here. And when I do that, you'll see that I now have access to all of my filters and groups. So the first thing this allows you to do is easily look. When I double click on a filter here, it's going to ask me if you're searching a large database, you can optimize your filter. If you don't care, just hit no. I'm going to recommend you just click no. Don't worry about it. But this allows you to easily preview filters right here within your Search Center. So any of you who have been building filters, using filters, and have been just sick and tired of that little stupid preview tab that only shows you like the contact name and the company name, now we can actually use our filters to do something incredibly useful. The other thing that we can do, which is really neat here, is that when we're using our multi-level search, in this case we're looking for, actually let's go ahead and reset this, go back to my search, brand new, and I want my state begins with New York, and my contact type. I'm just hitting my C key here to loop through all my C's. That's how you do that without getting lost in this list. And my customer type should be prospect. Now that I have this search, so I'm going to think to myself, I'm going to want to know about my New York prospects next week. I can actually save that search as a filter